Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sugar, Spice, and Spirits. What are we talking about today? Let's talk real estate, mortgage, insurance, faith, working with your spouse. What? We're at Lynn's table in Old Town Spring, and we have a wonderful sip of the day. Thank you to Jessica and Chef Matthew for having us out here. We're super excited. The drinks of the day are strawberry rose floats, raspberry rose float, and a Bellini float. Millie has her strong latte.
That's right.
And Cory has his own concoction. They are definitely creative here. So we are super excited to be here. And we're very thankful to Lynn Sip of the Day, or Lynn's for sponsoring the Sip of the Day, and Lynn's Table for letting us come out here.
Look how pretty.
And have this fun experience with this Bellini and rosé float. So I wanted
this
to
is definitely a twist on the float.
a good twist, right?
I'm thinking so.
I'm not a champagne drinker, but let's see what it's all about. Everybody, we take a sip of the day. So we're going to go ahead and have our sip of the day and give you our thoughts.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, everyone.
I forgot the cheers. Y'all knew the cheers.
Juan provecho.
Buen provecho.
Buen provecho.
What does that mean
Ooh.
for us white people?
Bon appetit, the
Okay.
equivalent.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
I don't
So
know if there's a word in English for that.
We don't have one.
I'm
The
sure.
Cheers is not from like America English, right?
Ah,
Probably like from over in Europe.
cheers.
Yeah.
Ireland.
Irish. Hey,
Ireland.
Ireland.
A lot of followers in Ireland. We just want
So-
to say thank you and we see you.
Yeah, we
Yes.
appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
I would rather see you personally.
I know,
But-
we are thinking. So we did. So we did an episode when I was in Ireland, and all of a sudden we start looking at YouTube, we start looking at some of our numbers, and we have a ton of folks following
That's
us literally
amazing.
from Ireland. So maybe one day we will do a road trip.
I will carry the bags.
I mean, and because look at some real estate.
So I
Right.
am going, my stepson is getting married in Scotland. So I
Oh,
told them,
that's
I'm like, darn, if we have to do a little podcast from Scotland, it won't hurt my
I'm
feelings.
just
So-
going to go over there and test my accent.
Test your accent. Which accent?
No,
We love to praise the Lord.
why?
Uh,
We do love it.
Praise the Lord.
Guys, these are super good. Mindy's already started with the strawberry, and we are super excited to have Cory and Milly Kammerdiener here. So with that, it's also Kelly, Mindy, and myself, Natalie. So we'll just jump right into it because I know. Go ahead and say your name correctly, Cory, please.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an analogy so you'll never forget the name.
Okay.
Camera, like you take a picture with. Diner, that you eat in. Camera, diner.
Camera Diner.
Camera Diner.
Unless you're German, that's Kammerdiener.
Kammerdiener. That
One
wasn't right.
time somebody asked me that I was speaking with a German person and I said, Kammerdiener. And he said, no, Kammerdiener. And then he gave me the whole story. I said, listen, I was a Bailey before all of that. So
I know. When you have a unique name, though, there comes great responsibility, I think, with that
True.
name. Having a last name like Pilkinton, people resonate. That name resonates. People know you. They're like, oh, yeah, that's them. Not only, so your name supersedes you, too. I had a sign out at one of my properties, and a guy drives by, and he's like, used to do the radio on 700. I was like, yes, sir. And he's like, lifestyles, yes, sir. And he's like, I used to listen to you all the time. So, but that, because the name is so unique, it's one of those things that kind of follows. So I asked ChatGPT a little bit about Cory.
I love ChatGPT, one of my best
So
friends.
you are the
Mhm.
founder and broker owner of HOMEROCK Realty, along with Milly, based in Spring, Texas. They are my broker. So obviously I have an affinity to them. First time I saw Cory, he was walking into a new home, like presentation for realtors, and he's outside and he's filming. And if you know Cory, he is magnetic. He's got a personality and he's got a good presence. And he's outside. Hey, we're outside. We're here at Brookfield Residential or wherever we were. And,
right.
and he's filming, and I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, what am I going into? I had driven to Timbuktu to go do this event. And I'm like, I have no idea why I'm here, but I'm here. And I remember thinking this is going to sound very brash, and this is why we don't judge a book by its cover, but I am guilty on occasion, and I try to
Let's hear it.
reserve. I said, another narcissist. Here we go.
Wow.
And so-
So, hey, they thought Jesus was in. Oh, come on, man.
Say more.
I was like, oh Lord, here we go. And I go in and you were there and Lacey was there and you did your presentation. And at the end, you and I chatted just a little. And then I talked to Lacey and I'm like, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe there's more behind the character or behind the personality that greets you. Because a lot of times people put up this front and it's a faux or it's fake, especially.
Kind of a gimmick
Yeah.
that kind of sucks you in. And then you realize that what you've got is really the authentic person.
Yeah. And so like, especially too, when they talk about the Lord and Christianity, people throw that around like it's a sales technique or like it's a sales pitch, and it's disingenuine, and people can usually see through that and they can find, but sometimes you can't. Like I've been disguised or not disguised. I've been deceived by, some people in the past where I'm like, oh, my bad. And praying for discernment, I think, is a good thing, but you guys are the real deal. And so I switched. I was with the previous broker and switched over to HOMEROCK Realty. So super excited.
And just from another side of it, I remember whenever she was looking to switch and she called me and she said, I feel like I just found my home.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like that. You did.
Yeah.
No, I got
Nice.
these folks.
Mhm.
Well, I told you that on the phone, like when we were going, I was on my way to another event with you, and I think you had somebody else in the car, but I was like, I had a dream about you last night. And it was like, come with it. Like, what are we going to hear? And it's like, I just felt at peace. Like, I feel like I'm where I need to be. I feel like I'm at home. So HOMEROCK is more than just HOMEROCK for the clients. HOMEROCK is more than just HOMEROCK for the business. HOMEROCK is family. HOMEROCK is home.
So I'm so glad that you said that, because for the longest time, I actually did not want to use the Christian card in business because people tend to misinterpret that, right? I always will lead with God in my heart, but I would pray that God would send his people once we rebranded, right? It's been 9 months or so that we've actually became HOMEROCK. Previously, we were 21 years as newhomeprograms.com. But with this rebrand, I felt like God really took a hold of it, and it's a different type of people that are coming on board that are actually grabbing the vision. And it's not about Cory and Milly. It's about what God is going to do with this. And it's using real estate to the means of the goal. And so for you to say that it feels like home, it's just an answer of prayer, right? And I just hope that the people that continue to come on board really take a hold of that vision and make it their own, because it's our clients, it's our realtors, it's the people that make our family. That's who we serve. That's our mindset anyways.
So were you going to say something, Cory? I'm afraid.
I know.
Just because he's so good at oratory.
He's a chatty daddy.
So I like what you said. There are a lot of people that they wear their faith on their sleeve. I believe there's two types of people. There's the people that want to boast their faith because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel special. And I get it. That's their thing. Everybody has their thing. In my situation, because I do have people that are turned off when I talk about the Lord. Like people say, can you have a conversation without talking about God?
It could be intense though.
Right? But let me tell you why. In the scriptures, it talks about the word of God is like a sword. A sword is to defend and protect yourself, right? If I'm walking around with a sword, I'm less likely to get robbed. Agree?
Agree.
So I love talking about the word of God because for me, it's my protection. And I could also spin it around in reverse. There's a lot of people, and it could be the people that say they believe in Jesus, that I'll just use a phrase, bad people or bad intentions. But when you're consistently throwing God out there and you stand on that cornerstone, it repels people. So there's certain people that I don't want to be around me or near me. And I always declare the word of God because I don't have time. We have a definitive day where we will no longer have breath in us, right? I don't have time to mess around. And if I truly believe in God and he has a call upon my life, I got to find who's going to be the sheep and who's going to be the goat, right? And I believe by professing the name of God, Jesus, in every conversation, and it's not that, hey, we're a business that's Christianity. No, that's who I am. I'm a believer. Now, if I'm a real estate agent, I'm speaking about God. I don't have to just speak about God in the business, but for me, it's a protection. It's a shield to keep people that are not meant to be in my circle, to keep them away. So that's why I always talk about the Lord. And to me, it's who I am. I also look at it as, if you're not willing to accept who I am, don't try to get in my circle, because I'm not going to change for anyone, right? Just like when I was a heathen, I wasn't going to change for anyone. So, but that's why I come off, sometimes people say brash and, oh my God, every time he opens his mouth, it's about God. There is a purpose behind it, and it's protection. It's a hedge of protection.
Well, I think you find that,
Yeah.
that your circle, people gravitate to your circle. And I think we all welcome those we want to inspire and not change, but maybe influence in a positive way. Like you said, you just referred to yourself as a heathen. So obviously you made that transition, which is fantastic. So there are those other heathens out there who might listen to you and think, wow, well, this guy really has this magnanimous attitude and everything. Maybe I should step in and listen a little bit. And whether you're for them or not, or they're for you or not, that is a choice for everyone to make. But when they look around and see the number of people that do gravitate to your circle and how powerful and how happy and successful they can be, it really makes someone realize, wow, maybe this is the circle that I need to be a part of. And it opens their eyes to some of those possibilities that they thought weren't out there, whether it's through lack of faith, lack of direction, lack of camaraderie, whatever it is. So no, kudos to you for standing up in what you believe in.
You're
And
right.
yeah,
So Jesus did not come for the healthy. He came for the sick, the downtrodden, the casted out. So when you have a group of people that are going to gravitate towards you because they're seeing the outside, your prosperity and your blessing, right? Everybody's attracted to that. We don't want them to be attracted to that. We understand they got to pay their bills, but we're looking to attract them to a kingdom, right? Because Jesus gave us the keys to the kingdom and said, listen, I'm out of here, fellas. I'm going. Here's the keys. I'll be back. And you go ahead and multiply the kingdom. So the people that typically are going to stay in that circle are the ones that are truly hurting, the ones that feel like they're not part of a family. They feel like they've been disconnected from the world, like humanity, and they feel like they're alone. And that's the number one issues that we have as a human, is when you feel like you're alone, you fall into a depression. And this is why the word says it's not good for man to be alone. Now, man, he's speaking about a human, not like a male, right? Male and female. But even though Adam, he needed a wife because a man can't fulfill his destiny without a woman, right? But it's not good for humans to be alone. But yeah, we become more like a safe haven for those people that they're living life in a desperation. And typically it goes back to that loneliness, factor.
well, I think sometimes when you are at a point in your life where you don't know what your direction is going to be, sometimes it takes that Christian faith to keep you on that path. I lost my husband several years ago, and had it not been for my faith, my great friends, and my family, there were a lot of reasons for me to just withdraw and wonder, why me, why me, why me? But my thought is, there's a purpose for me to be here, and I need to know what that purpose is. And not once was now I do joke and say, when I get up there, I've got a bone to pick with you about why you took such a great man. But by the grace of God, 5 years later, I'm remarried to a fabulous man. But not once did I ever say, well, I'm so mad at you. Why me? What did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve this? My thought process was, there's a reason why I'm still here. I need to find out what that reason is, and whether it's to inspire other people going through the same thing. Mindy lost her mom, and that was a very difficult time. Natalie lost her father as well. And if you don't have that purpose and that sense of direction with your faith as your your gear and your purpose, then it's very easy for you to just fall into that desperation. And that sometimes is the one thing that makes you realize, okay, God's got this.
And sometimes you don't know who's going through that at that point.
Right.
And so that's where I lead every morning, right? So after devotional, I want to be that sparkle of light in someone's life, being in business, being in the grocery store. Somebody told me, you walk with a smile on your face. I don't do it intentionally. It's there now because I train myself. A simple smile could change your day.
Someone's day.
And I don't know, you may have, lost someone in your life today. You may have not enough money to pay your bills today. I don't know. I just want you to know that there is a God that still does whatever miracle you need simply by looking at a smile. And it may sound silly, but it just, I believe that if I can make your life better by a millisecond, then, at least something has.
So her smile and Cory's magnetic, how do you say magnanimous personality? I remembered, so when we had Eddie Wilson from Aspire and Andrew Cordell on from Aspire Tours as well, business tours, when I was talking to them, I was like, oh my gosh, we just landed these guys, like my friends. I'm so super excited that they're coming on. And I remember because we were talking, I went to this event. They're like, so did we. I was like, guys in the VIP room. So were we. And I was like, yes, y'all were. And they walked by with this magnetic personality. And then Saul said he was back there too. And he was in there. So we had that conversation. So it's funny how things come full circle in life. But I do remember seeing them and thinking to myself, wow, what a dynamic couple, or what a striking couple, because they did stand out, and they do stand out when they walk into a room because of the aura and the joy. And I think just what they put out. And I think the energy you put out isn't always the energy you get back, because the devil comes at you in different ways in different places.
And that's true.
But it is shown, and people do remember, and they may not, like, I didn't know at that point that you guys would come back into my life, or that I would come into your lives, or however, but just how things work out. So let's go a little bit backwards before we come forward full circle to where we are with HOMEROCK Realty. Sure. Milly, tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up. Give us the Cliff Note version. I know you don't need to hear that, but Cory will. Give us the Cliff Note version of your life and how you ended up in America with.
Sure. So I graduated early high school. I was 15 years old, and I remember telling my parents, everybody else was 18, and I was like, I have years that I can actually do something. At that time, Dad was a pastor in Venezuela. I was born in Venezuela, and so I think it was December 31st, 1998. The first night in the U.S., Dad was invited to be here to train people that were coming out of jail to restoration, like leadership and spirituality, bring them back into the workforce and prepare them, right? This was back in California. My family decided to go back. I fell in love with this country. I love the USA. I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. And so I begged my dad, and mind you, I was 15 years old. I said, Dad, if I find a family with the church that I can stay with, could you please let me? I was like, are you crazy? I'm not going to leave you in a different country with people that we don't know. Well, leave it to me. I found a Salvadorian family. Her name was Milly Zuniaga, also. Milly. They were from El Salvador. Her husband was an U.S. immigration attorney.
Oh, wow.
So I started working in this office. I did not speak a lick of English. And so, but I didn't need to, because it was LA, right? So everybody speaks Spanish. So I started managing phone calls. I ended up leading that office. Everybody thought I was going to be a paralegal. But through that family, I was able to get my U.S. citizenship. My family was back in Venezuela. Another church asked them to come to the States. Here in Houston, now I'm living in San Diego at this time. And mind you, Dad was coming every 6 months, or I was traveling every 6 months. He did not trust me that much. And so Dad ended up working with a church here in Houston. How do I end up in Houston is because this is not I think that God, when he has a plan for your life and you live the way that you want to, because Milly was doing what Milly wanted to do in San Diego. Living the vida loca. Hello.
Living the what?
I don't know. That's another topic. That's another podcast. There she goes. But the church actually changed, and they wanted Dad to do something unethical. And Dad said, absolutely not. Do what you will, but we will not cross that line. And so that was dependent on them, the housing, this visa, immigration, all of it. And at this point, I was the only U.S. citizen. And so they literally put my parents on the street and my 3 siblings. And I remember I was signing the scholarship paperwork with UCSD in San Diego when I got the call. My mom had a heart attack because of all that I was going through. I had a thought. I said, you only had one mother. If you did this here, you can do it anywhere. And so I packed my bags, came to the Houston, found a 2-bedroom apartment for 6 people, and didn't know anything about insurance in this country, figure it out. And mom is well now.
Thank God.
Yes. And she had to have a double bypass surgery, but we went through all of that. But being in Houston, that was back in 2003. 2003. And that's how I ended up in Houston. So mad at the world, mad at God, mad at the church. Did not want to do anything with God at that point. I have a very close relationship with God. And I said, out of my mouth, I said, I know you exist. I don't want anything to do with you right now. Let me be. And I remember being in a church and I told Dad, do not call me in front of these people, 300 people in a church. Do not call me and tell me a word that God tell you. Don't say nothing. Like, I'm not here. And so what did he do? He called me in front of these 300 people. And he said, your husband, I'm single at this time. Your husband is in a big jam and he needs you to pray for him. And in my mind, I was like, I'm not praying for nobody. But then I got convicted. I was like, oh, God, Lord, if anybody's in trouble, help them. But I did not believe my husband was in trouble. I was like, whatever. Anyways, that happened. Moved in with my parents back at home. And, in a Spanish household, it doesn't matter if you're paying the bills. If parents are at home, it's their roof, right? And so I'm going to fast forward skip because I'm sure that he'll like to tell the story. But when I met Cory, fast forward, we're already married. We're moving into the house, into the townhome, and I found my dad's journals. And Dad used to write down every time he would have a dream or a word for the Lord. And so he dated it. And I said, hey, Cory, what were you doing this date? And his jaw just dropped.
Oh, wow.
He's like, why? And I was like, well, God said that my husband was in trouble. So if it's not you, then, we probably need to get an annulment or something.
Oops.
Yeah, right. But it was the hardest day in his life, and he'll tell you about it. But when God has a plan and a purpose for your life, you can do so much, right? But it's been 19 years that we've been together now. And he's not just my husband. He's my life partner, my business partner. And it's just been a roller coaster of a life. It's a good life and it's getting better. I thank God for all the good and the bad. I would do it again.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that with my coffee.
We want to cheers to that, but we also want to eat some of the ice cream.
I think kind of just to expand on what you said, just briefly, you have to trust the pathway.
Yes.
You don't understand it. And the problem is that, and I know what the story that Cory told us before we got live, we don't always get that luxury of hearing and really just being hit between the eyes with the Lord's message saying, here's what it is for you. Here's what you're going to do. Here's how it's going to be. You just have to open up your heart and say, okay, I don't know what you want from me right now, but I trust you. And so,
Yeah.
And it sounds like it took some years until you found the journal and you said,
Oh, yeah.
what were you doing on this day? And
Right.
you're like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, he did know what he was talking about. And I did follow the pathway because I think a lot of times some of the big question is, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
And it's not that you're being punished. Sometimes it's based on the choice you make.
Yeah.
Related to that bad event.
So sometimes the story's being written.
Yeah.
And we think it's it's the end of it because we're at that precise moment.
Mhm.
I tell you, I remember just going to the altar. I was like, gosh, is this the right thing to do? Because I don't know this guy. We met on MySpace. Okay, we just aged ourselves.
MySpace.
Oh, I miss my
What's your song on MySpace?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember. But it's one of those things that I met.
What was your song, Cory?
What was your song?
Well, in my time of desperation, it was 3 doors down away from the sun again.
Yeah.
But then when God restored me, it was Enrique Iglesias. Hero.
Hero. That was Hero Baby. That's our song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those things that you have to trust. You're right.
Mhm.
And you don't know. You don't know.
It's a blind faith.
It's a step of faith.
Timing. Too.
Yeah.
Like I want it now.
Well, think about this. Think about all the things that you went through. You talked about the roller coaster
Yeah.
and how things are getting better. And then, you look forward to all that. Would you change anything? No, because of the path that you went on.
Right.
You think about in your faith, you think about in your life, and we think about in business. So a lot of times it's like, we want this success and we want it now. We want these things. And the younger generation is like, help me get there. I want to learn from you so I can get there faster. But there's also something to be said for making the mistakes and the experience and what you learn from that. So like the trials and tribulations that we go through as humans. And sometimes it's like, what are you doing? What are you showing me? And so being open to, what are you showing me? But sometimes even as a Christian, that's really hard because you just said it. You said, you think the chapter's over, but it's just beginning. And then you go back and you look and you're like, oh, wow, if it would have ended there, my life would have been so different. Or in business, oh, if it stopped there, or I didn't pivot, or I didn't learn this, I wouldn't be where I am today. And
I tell you, every time we do a rebranding or a move different, we went through so many phases in business. It was because there was not a mistake, but somebody did something wrong and we needed to pivot. And God used that to, hey, now we have a team at New Home Programs and we have showing agents and now it's going amazing. And then COVID happened. And now we have to do, we're not going to do that anymore because even though we're essential, we can't really go into. So every time you think, oh my God, I almost lost him in COVID, right? During COVID time. Like literally, it was like one of those things that you're like, what is happening? Everything was going so great. And now it's like, I'm going to be a widow with like 2 little kids. Like what's going on? But it didn't happen. God wanted me to teach me something, wanted to teach him something. And then the rebranding happening. And it's like, it's in a trail of fire. Like people are coming and saying, oh, I have a listing and, I just switched it over. It was months before, we had this and now we can sell. So it's like, you see God's favor over it. You see God's, anointing over it. Call it what you want. I believe your mindset is also has a play to, you got to tell your story. You got to speak it out. You got to say, I will have so many closings. I will be fill in the blank.
And sometimes, we got this from Jalea and you may say this yourself already, but it's, you hear people say, fake it till you make it. Instead, it's faith it.
Faith it till you make
Faith
it.
it till you make
I used to
it.
tell Cory, we're either really crazy or have a lot of faith because you're writing these checks and these are not back checks. These are faith checks. That was for a long, like 2013, 2014. That was like the darkest time for us. But at the same time, I just made this post. I was in Dubai in the desert and I'm standing there in the scorching sun and it's like so hot. And I'm like, I've been here before spiritually, but I can feel your grace. I can feel your power because even in the darkest time in life, he was always there.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was always there.
Always.
We lack nothing. Even though we lost our parents, even though we lost kids, even though we lost, whatever, name it, think about it. We lost it all. Materially, we lost it all. But I would do it again because it was God's plan.
Right.
And we're here.
And the biggest question sometimes is why? And that's when God says, it's your place to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I have it laid out for you. You just have to figure out how to get there.
So one thing you said is I did it once, I can do it again. Like that's gold right there. And I think so many times people think this is their only, and they hold on so tight to someone or to something or to a dream or a vision and they know it's not there. You worry about stopping short of gold. We talk about that in business, but you hold on so tight and it's not meant for you and God is trying to close that door and your hand is going through that door, getting slammed over and over again, and you won't let go. But sometimes you've got to let go so God can fill your hands with something else.
Yeah.
And that's not.
I was a pre-med.
Oh.
Like, I've never in my life, I thought I was going to be in real estate. Like, when I met Cory, I was like, you don't work. Like, you're on the phone and you get a check. Like, what is it? Right? And so my mom was very disappointed when I didn't really make the medical whatever. And so, but honestly, there was a time in life when, we were married, we were living here in Spring, and I'm sitting there saying, if I would have gone to med school, life would have been so different. So different. It may not be in a good way or a bad way. It would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
And the words that I'm looking at, I'm not regret my choices, right? Because gosh, I have at least one soul that I can say, hey, that's mine, But also the life that we're building together. I have two beautiful little ones that, they're two living miracles, because the doctor says, you can have kids, forget about it. So we're like, okay, we're going to build businesses. That's our story. But even though God gave me the dream, I saw my kids before I had them. And even though science was saying you can't have it, I would pray and I would cry every day. And now that the way that I saw them in my dream, they're now.
Wow.
And every time I see those two, even though they drive me crazy sometimes, that's God's doing. And if you ever doubt that God can do miracles today, well, I see it every day. They're 6 and 8 years old. And yet there's more to come.
And we'll humble you in a minute.
In a minute.
So, Cory, give us your background, Cliff Note version.
Oh, where do I even start? I feel like Moses. I have like 3 different lives. So I was born in Pennsylvania, so I'm a Quaker. But my mom is from West Virginia, so we ended up moving to West Virginia. I was only born in Pennsylvania because my dad's older sister lived there. My dad, he, quit school at 13, became emancipated as a man. So by 17, I popped out. So he lived with his older sister. So she was in Pennsylvania. But we ended up going to West Virginia because I was born a preemie. And I was very sick, had issues. My mom said, hey, this was back in the 70s, right? So my mom was like,
I'm brown baby in the county.
I'm getting my brown baby boy out of this town because they're trying to kill my baby, right? So my mom took me back to West Virginia. Her mom, nursed me back to health. And so my dad, he was, high school dropout, didn't have a GED. And growing up in the South, he was never going to have a real job or career. He's married to a Black woman with half-breed kids. And Dixon Arco, the largest, soda machine manufacturer in the planet, told him straight to his face that you're going to train the next supervisors. My dad says, well, why can't I be a supervisor? I'm excellent. He said, because you're married to a Black woman. And unless you divorce her and get rid of those kids, you'll never be promoted at Dixon Arco. That company has been wiped off the face of the earth. That doesn't even exist anymore. So my dad heard a rumor that if you go into the military, they won't make you get rid of your Black wife. So he joined the Army. So he went into the Army, and, I grew up a military brat. We lived in Germany and all over the place. I actually graduated from Fort Sill, Lawton, Oklahoma. It's a high school right outside the Army base. So I grew up around kids whose parents were soldiers. And I just, that's who I am. My dad's a soldier. My granddad was a soldier. I said I'd never join the military, but 16 years old, they made me take the ASVAB test. They said, we'll give you a Coca-Cola and a bag of chips if you go and take this test. And I'm like, I'm never going to join the military, but to get that bag of chips, I'll take your stupid test, right? And I did it at 16 years old. I was a junior, and they got the results, and they just started blowing me up. And I was never intended to go in the military, but the Navy recruiter was a friend of one of my dad's Army buddies. And we had a barbecue at my dad's Army buddy's house. The Navy guy was there in civilian clothes. So I technically knew him, but when he kept calling me and saying, hey, Cory, this is Vic, call me back. I'm like, why would a grown-up call me? I'm like 16 years old, right? So finally my mom said, call this guy back because he keeps blowing our phone up. And I called him and he said, hey, I'm the local Navy recruiter in charge. I'm like, you are?
Navy.
And he says, hey, why don't you come and see me? I'm like, great, let me jump on my motorcycle. I'll drive down there. And as soon as I walk into that recruiting station, I saw a Popular Mechanics poster up on the wall, and it was a nuclear powered submarine.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what is that? And they're like, it's a submarine. Would you like to be on one of those? Can I? I'm a country bumpkin from West Virginia. My GPA is like a 2.7. He says, we got your ASVAB scores. He said, you're good at electronics. I'm like, I go to VOTEC. I take electronics because I don't like taking regular people's school, right? And he said, we can get you into the advanced electronic computer field and we'll put you on a nuclear powered submarine. And then he said, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 16. Oh, you're not old enough. Come back when you turn 17. So on the first day of being a senior, August 24th, that was the day, my birthday. So that day I went to school, left, got my motorcycle, went straight down to the recruiting station, said, sign me up. Because if you're telling me that you're going to give me a paycheck just to be in the Navy, you're going to give me submarine pay, you're going to give me sea pay, I said, this is my way out of poverty. Because as a high school senior, my dad got us a little 2-bedroom house that he rented with me and my brother, who's just as big as me. This house was maybe 800 square feet, and me and my brother were sleeping on bunk beds in the ghetto. And I said, you know what? I'm working at the grocery store to help my mom pay the bills for the house, and I'm making $400 a month. But if you're telling me I could join something that's greater than myself, and you're going to give me a paycheck, and I know you're going to put me into school. I don't like school, but if you're going to pay me, I'll do the best I can in the classes, right? And that's how he got me, came to my house and looked my mom in the eye and my dad and said, your son wants to join the world's finest Navy. And my mom says, hell no, he's not. We're Jehovah's Witness and we don't believe in war. I'm like, Dad's a soldier sitting right next to you, Mom. And Fred, my dad's name is Alfred Fred. He's like, Donna, the boy's got a point. And I said, listen, Mom, you're either going to sign permission for me to join at 17. Because if you don't, when I turn 18, because Dad said you turn 18 or you graduate high school and you're officially a man, and a man does not support another man. He said, that's the law. So I said, Mom, when I turn 18, Dad says I'm a man. I will go, and I promise you, I will sign up to be a Navy SEAL. Oh. And I will go to war, and I will kill people. And she says, son, give me the papers. She said, promise me that you'll never pick up a gun and kill, and I will sign it, and promise me you'll just stay with electronics. And she signed it, and I was in the delayed entry program for actually more than a year. And that's how I started to become a man. And the military was my God. They had their own code of ethics. They had their own rules. And I followed them to a T. It said, if you follow these, you will be exemplary. And we will put it on paper that you're exemplary. And this is how you rank amongst your peers. And I said, I love this system because it's scalable and it's obtainable. I can touch it. I can feel it. And the military it just became who I am. And I did that for 8.5 years, submarines, special projects, military recruiting. So I ended up recruiting people that were coming from poverty.
I'm not surprised.
Yep. I recruit a lot of people in the military, and they were the same type of people like me. They had aptitude, but they were never given an opportunity. And I excelled very well at that. And never thought I'd be in real estate, got out of the military. After 9/11, nobody was really hiring. People were trying to figure out what the country was going to do moving forward. Homeland Security came out and Patriot Act came out. And I floundered for about a year, working at Best Buy in Katy. I worked at Bassett Furniture at night. I was a Navy reservist. I was selling garbage on eBay and still couldn't make ends meet for a whole year. And finally, by the grace of God, someone said, hey, we heard that you were in the military, you're a recruiter. This was a headhunter for Royce Homes, the largest family-owned builder in the state of Texas. And they said, we need someone to work internet leads because we have roycebuilders.com, and it doesn't seem like people have the aptitude to make phone calls. And I'm like, that's called dialing for dollars. I did that in the Navy, and I'm good at it, right? And they said, you know what? You don't have a degree, and we only hire Aggies. But because you served your country, we'll give you an opportunity. And this is how it's going to look. They made the terms. We'll give you $1,500 your first month. We'll give you $1,000 your second month. And we'll give you $500 your third month. If you don't get out there and sell our homes, you will fire yourself because we're not going to give you anything more than that. And I said, are you telling me all I have to do is convince people to buy your homes in 32 neighborhoods? And that's it? I'm like, I'm shipping kids off to the military during a time of freaking war, and they can't touch, see, they can't smell the military, but I could easily have a person buy a house, right? Show me what I need to do. And that first year I was there, not knowing anything, I sold 3 million.
Wow.
And it was just, I know how to talk to people. I know how to smoke out what a person is desiring, their wants, their needs, their DBM, dominant buying motive. I went to the best recruiting school that the world has. It's the military recruiting. I went to a 2-month sales school, and I said, I'm just going to apply the same methodology to putting people in the military for people buying houses. And I did that.
And home prices were very different then.
Yeah, $89,000 is what I was selling.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why I was like, let's go ahead and you said 3 million. And some people might go,
I was selling a
this
lot
is-
of homes.
Yeah.
120,
A lot.
120,000 was the highest.
yes. Yeah. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and got nice suits. I had
Yeah.
my name tags and dressed up nice because I'm a military guy. I need a uniform, right? And I did that. And but the problem was that was the second corporate American job that I had. And I didn't see these people as being like me. They had no ethics. They had no values. They looked at you as a number. And I said, you know what? Honestly, I don't like civilians. I don't ever want to work with civilians. I'm going to go back into the military, but whoever's running the White House, they'll determine if the military shrinks or grows. Whoever was in the White House, they were shrinking the military. So I tried a whole year to go back in. I said, make me a grunt, take my rank from me, send me to Afghanistan, I will guard a latrine if you want me to, just get me away from civilians. And it didn't happen. The door shut after 1 year of trying to get in. And so I said, you know what? The only thing I can think about doing is I'm going to leave this company and I just got to figure out how to start something on my own. And that's what I did in December of 2004. I used my military tech background and I built a website called newhomeprograms.com. And I said, one day people will go to the internet to be able to look at homes. They're going to try to find programs to fix their credit, down payment assistance programs. And I launched that website and it just exploded. So it's now 23 years now. I'm still dealing with clients and working with them through that website. And then I saw the opportunity that if I have leads and I'm able to make this a career, not a part-time, I was never part-time in real estate. As a real estate agent, I was always closing like 40 houses per year, still doing the same level that I was doing with the builder. And I said, for someone from Charlestown, West Virginia, coming from a trailer park, if I can make 6-figure income consistently, I know anybody can do it because everybody has more credentials than me. And I said, let me share this leads with other people. And my MO was always the same. Find the people, the downcasted, the beaten up, the ones that were rejected, and say, let's get you out of poverty and let me show you how I did it and just duplicate what I do, but then pass it on. The problem is sometimes when people get their blessing, they don't pass it on.
They don't pass on.
They get very greedy and selfish, and it's going to implode. And that's what we did. We started New Home Programs. We had over 400 agents, 4 cities in Texas. We went to Tampa. We went to Orlando because I was stationed there, and it worked well. And then we finally got pregnant 10 years after we were married. And I said, you know what? I made a vow at 13 years old in the backyard of my parents' house in West Virginia. I was so depressed as a kid. I didn't have any place to fit in. I didn't look like everybody else. And I wasn't an education guy. My mom didn't allow me to play sports. I had no tribe, group, nothing. I was literally by myself, always outside by myself. And I said, God, Jehovah, because that's what my mom taught me to say. I said, if you could just fast track me to being a man, I will sacrifice my childhood. I don't even care about my childhood, but fast track me to be a dad, give me a wife, a family, and give me sons and everything that I've accumulated. And I started collecting comic books, basketball cards. Like I've got a lot of stuff that's very valuable, right? And I said, I will seal them up in boxes. And the day you bless me with kids, my kids will be born with an inheritance. I said that at 13 years old. And from the time I said that, 18 years old, I was in the military leading over 100 people in basic training. And these people were older than me because I graduated early. And people would say the Navy stands for never again volunteer yourself. My dad says, son, don't volunteer for anything. Just get in there and just do what you need to do. But every time someone said, and my recruit commanders looked me in the face, looked up, Filipinos, hey, do you want to be my RLPO? I have no idea what you said, but yes.
Sure, why not?
And it was the second in command of every single person that was in that company. And I was the only one that didn't get fired from that position. And every time they said, oh, there's a push for recruiting duty, nobody wants to volunteer. Submarine service is a volunteer service. I volunteered for that. I volunteered to be second in command of a company. They needed people for recruiting. They said, we need people. You don't have to sell me, sir. I'll sign up for it. And that's all I've ever looked at life. If you give me an opportunity, I will be a fool not to take it and run with it. Because the way I look at it is, even before I left for the Navy, there was a gap in that summer. My uncle said, I need help digging graves. They own the biggest like funeral service company on the DMV. And I said, I don't know anything about digging graves. But if you tell them you're going to pay me $20 a day to dig a hole, I'm in. And I dug graves all summer up until the day I left for boot camp. And it was hard work. I should have renegotiated that deal. But that's who I am personally, is I love challenges. I live for the challenge. I don't really live for the money. Money can come and go. Right? Anybody can get money, right? In the town I'm from, West Virginia, you're either on drugs or you're the drug dealer, right? But to be able to create or to be able to accept an opportunity and run with it and make it into something greater than what you found it, that is kind of like my personality.
Oh, that's my motto. Leave people better than what you found them. I love that. Like that's how I operate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Real quick, I want to go back to something that you said, because my mind is just going. When you talked about saying yes to all of those opportunities that you had, where I deal with a lot of different clients and I'll have conversations, and sometimes, they're complaining about the younger generation wanting something now, and, not paying those dues. Well, you had mentioned it earlier. We came in, this generation grew up with a cell phone in their hand. They wanted everything so fast. So we have to learn how to communicate with them and help them understand, but train them and give them those opportunities. So then let's fast forward to my more seasoned clients that I work with. And sometimes I'll hear them say, I just don't know. I don't want to feel washed up. I feel like I'm getting passed by. I'm feeling like I'm having to prove myself. So instead of leading to serve, I feel like I'm leading to prove. And something just hit when you said that about the volunteering. Sometimes people will get so accustomed to, I work so hard for so long, I either deserve this or I'm just tired. Not saying there's anything wrong with the tired, but feeling like you deserve something. That's your reward. I think that's where people miss out. And so when you said every opportunity that I'm getting, that I give, I take it on as a challenge. I just wonder if somebody's listening or thinking about this and they feel like, I don't know, hopefully they're a praying person. If they're not, but I don't know what to do next, is say yes to that opportunity. Yeah. You may think it's beneath you, but is it? What can you learn from it? I'm literally thinking about all these things and thinking about a couple of my clients where I'm like, oh, I know they said no to that volunteering thing. Oh, I know they don't want to go to that dinner anymore. Oh, I know they don't want to go to that luncheon. They're not putting themselves in the room with others where they can have influence and finding whatever passion there is in it, and nothing is beneath you. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that, because just a lot of little things clicked for me.
There is power in proximity. So I believe, as well as Cory, when you open up yourself to those opportunities, I always lead with, God, is this for me? If it is, then show me the way, right? Because it may not be for you.
Right.
It may not be for you, but if you don't go, then you miss out to know really if it is. Because if you already canceled it or said, I don't want to be to that dinner or whatever, you don't know who you're going to meet. Mm-hmm. You don't know who's going to be your next best friend or whatever, you're right, because it's just a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Showing up to the realtor meeting, I never would have met Cory or been in y'all's circle.
Right.
So just showing up to Timbuktu, and I say Timbuktu, it was Timbuktu.
But there was free food though.
There was, but the gas I spent to get the free food. However, showing up makes the difference. And I think whether you feel like it's beneath you or not, it's like with the rodeo, when we volunteer or we go places and we do things, it's not for you. It's acts of service. And it sometimes does come around and benefit you. Like, you just don't realize how it's going to show up.
And going back to what you guys spoke about earlier, is that you see an opportunity and you grab it. And even though you think it might be beneath you, you also don't know, by you taking that opportunity, who you're inspiring and influencing. It may not be that you ever go any further, but you may just have pulled someone out of desperation and said, well, if this guy's got all this military training, or if this girl's got this advanced degree or this, because I was going to go pre-med also. And I did go to physical therapy, but sometimes I could kick myself because I didn't. But then I think, would my life be my own? Because I wanted to deliver babies. I'm like, well, those little dudes, they're on their own timeline. So that when you look at that, you think, I'll take that opportunity, because you don't know if you are encountering that person that's on that last straw of desperation, and they think, well, wow, okay, if he wasn't afraid or she wasn't afraid, then maybe I shouldn't be afraid. And it's okay to start over. It's okay to start fresh. And so, yeah, what a great, and that's perfect when you sit there and you talk about that. You have to look at every situation as an opportunity, whether it's for your benefit or someone else's.
So going back to what you had said, Milly, pray for your husband. Cory.
I was waiting for you, Dad.
So I was 4 years old. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You were 4 years old
I
when
was-
your dad called you from the
No.
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 I was like,
you
wow.
said something that triggered. You said something that triggered a memory.
Okay.
4 years old, my mom would do what she called the family, I don't know. It's like a worship service. Like the four of us, we would read the Bible. But she would say, I was 4 years old when this started. You have to pray for your husbands, to us girls. And to my brother, you have to pray for your wife. So anyways, but that's not where you were going.
No, I want to know what happened on such and such date that your dad called
Oh, yes.
and you asked Cory.
Well, that's for you to tell.
I was just, Lord, let them bring it up, because if not, I'm going to step in, and because I do believe somebody out there needs to hear this. So, when you come from rural America, you can't get no more country than West Virginia, right? Whether you're a believer or not, we don't believe in divorce.
Hmm.
You have to work it out.
And that was my
Right.
mindset too.
You have to work it out, right? Regardless if you're a Christian, if you come from the country, you don't believe in divorce. You get divorced, then you're a failure because you gave up. So I married young in the Navy. I married another sailor, it's a woman, right? And a lot of military people do that, right? Because you get lonely and I did it. And again, I was anti-God. Even my dog tags, when they say, what's your religious preference? I said, I don't believe in that. I want you to put no religious preference on my dog tag to intentionally spite God, because I don't believe, right? So I married and, lived, the non-godly marriage type life, because there's two type of marriages. There's the godly marriage, the way God had ordained marriage, but then there is the non-believer type marriage. And it was, okay when we're in the military. The problem is when you get out the military, right? And you don't have that common bond anymore.
Mhm.
They got their own desires and dreams, and you got yours. I love the military. She got out after 4 years and wanted to come to Texas and, go to school and get the degrees. And I'm like, well, I'm doing real good in the military. And she's like, I'm not going to follow you around. It's like, I'm going back home. You have an ultimatum. You get out the military and come with me, and then she'll do her college, or we get divorced. I'm from rural America, right? We don't believe in that, right? So I sacrificed a career. I was at 8.5 years, and I was moving up the chain of command very quickly. But I said, okay. The thing was saying, it's your wife, do what's best for your wife, right? I didn't understand the structure of marriage, the hierarchy, guy, woman, kids, and things like that. So came to Texas, floundered around, like I said, trying to work a bunch of jobs. Went from being the head guy in charge of 2 counties in recruiting to working at freaking Best Buy on the Geek Squad, right? So I lost like all that authority that I had, and very depressing, and just fell into sadness, was lay right next to the person in bed and like, what's my purpose on this earth? Like, I can't be like, am I in a dream? This can't be happening. Long story short, I something happened with my family, and my family's in what I still to this day have not gone back home to live where I came from, because I sacrificed everything to come out here, and I couldn't take it. I broke, and I just said, this is bad. I'm just going to walk away. And that day that I had to confront her and say, listen, I'm out, I'm leaving. And to have a human get down on their knees and start crying and begging you to stay and say the words, even if you don't love me, please stay. It was the hardest thing I had to do. That was a very unhealthy marriage. I was married to someone that didn't believe that man should be in authority. She would say, well, I'll never believe in the Bible because it was written by men. She didn't do well in the military because she said the military's ran by men. I get it. She came from a culture where men were bad people from where she was from overseas. I get it. The psychologist and marriage counselor said she has something in her mind. It's against men. And I'm like, but I'm a man, right? So it wasn't something we could work out. And I would say from my mouth, I tell many people that the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in life is to abandon someone and break that vow. That was the time when she was getting a prophetic word where her dad was speaking to her through God's voice saying, pray for your husband because he's going through a situation. And it was hard because when you go through the separation part, right, while you're going through the divorce, I went heavy on the bottle, carried a flask around, had my initials on in my back pocket. I'd be out selling homes, drinking and driving. Still to this day, don't know how I'm not dead. Going to places where I'm literally at clubs that, are open to 5 o'clock in the morning next to drug dealers and people doing all kind of bad drug stuff. And I was literally wishing for death. And it was that moment in time when I had my 2-bedroom apartment over here in Gessner. I just got on my knees and if there is a true God, I demand that you prove yourself to me, because if you don't, then that means there's no purpose for my life. Then why should I even live? So that's the type of depression. The song that was on my Facebook page or my MySpace, it was 3 Doors Down. It's called Away from the Sun. If you listen to the lyrics, it's I'm so far deep in a pit. Can anybody even hear me down here? And I'm so deep in this pit that not even the sun can reach me, right? If you listen to it, it's very prophetic. This man was going through some stuff, right? And I was just in a state of depression. But when I lifted my hand and raised it to God, all of a sudden I meet her. Didn't notice she was a daughter of a preacher. I did. I
Not disclose that.
I despised preachers. I never watched TBN. I just despised those guys in the white suits and Jesus loves you. And for $10, you can buy this oil or this cross. And I despise everything about Christian. I was the guy who would try to get people to denounce God as Christians and make them to backslide and then drag them into the darkness that I was in. And it's when I met her, and then I met her father, who said that he was a prophet. Are you that arrogant that you say God speaks to you? God has never spoken to me. What gives you the right to say that? I didn't believe in any of that stuff. And he just spoke some things. And I said, you're a liar. I'm going to prove with your own Bible you're a false prophet. And your Bible says I can stone you.
Mikey's still trying to date me. That's my dad,
Nothing says love. You're
not-
with the
You're
dad.
not granting any brownie points
But I
over
was,
here.
I was
Especially
dragging
about
her
religion.
into darkness with me, right? But I had an anger that was inside me. And everybody that says they don't believe in God is because they are angry at the Creator because of the suffering that they've gone through. And how can a loving God allow a child to suffer? Every human has that in them, whether they're going to admit it. When I became a believer, God, Jesus, where were you at all of my life? And he puts me to sleep. I see a dream. I'm a baby in NICU inside of a little bubble, and he's standing right next to me with his hand. I wake up and I call my mom. Was there something wrong with me when I was born? She's like, why are you asking me this question? Mom, was I inside of a container, with glass as a baby in a hospital? She says, yeah, you were in NICU for several months. You were born at 7 months and your lungs didn't grow properly. And they were trying to revive you, but you were dying. And I took you away from Pennsylvania and I ran back to my mom's house and we nursed you. She said, how do you know this? I said, because I asked Jesus, where were you all my life? Where were you when this happened to me? When this happened to me? When this happened to me? And he said, I was always with you.
Wow.
You see? So that was my conversion, because he took my anger and he turned it in to joy. And that thing where you talk about faith, right? When you're in situations and circumstance, when I finally came to the knowledge of God, it's like he took the veil off my eyes and listen. And I'm like, why did I get married and have to get divorced? Think about it. The scripture says what God brings together, let no man separate.
Right.
Did you ask me to marry her? I said, I didn't believe in you, right? So that weighed on my heart. How could I be someone in the military that was operate at the highest level of excellence, but I failed there, right? That bothered me. But he said, listen, you didn't ask me for her. You was never supposed to be with that. You chose that path.
It wasn't a godly bond.
I know what suffering is now. When you make a choice and it's not God's will, you will suffer. But the suffering is what's going to bring you back. That's why it says for your parents, you train your child in the way he should go so that in the future, he can find his way back. So my mom being a Jehovah's Witness and how she protected me using the religion's way of protecting your kids, I started to remember those things. Like I literally like blanked out that Jehovah, I'd never even used his name when I was in the military. And all of a sudden the knowledge of God came back and I'm like, okay. And that was my conversion. But I used to tell God that I want you to build my faith like a tower or a pillar that goes up into the heavens, like the Tower of Babel, so tall and so strong that no man will ever be able to tear it down. Now, what I was saying is, in order for you to let me walk in a high level of faith, I know that you're going to have to put me through suffering. You cannot have a high level of faith unless you go through suffering and you make it through the suffering. That's why a lot of these bad things have happened to us. It's not because we wanted them to happen. It's because when you ask God to put you in a higher level, you got to go through the desert and you got to go through the fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he refined you. So that's, again, I believe all these things that happen, just like Joseph said, you don't have to say sorry that you sold me into slavery, because what you did, which was bad, God turned it around for good so that a nation can be saved today. If it wasn't for Joseph being in Egypt and going through his tribulations of being a slave and being in prison based on a false accusation from a woman, right? He would have never had the opportunity to stand next to Pharaoh. And he would have never been able to declare this from his mouth. He said, what you guys did to me, God turned it around and God himself allowed me to be your provider. He's the only human in the Bible that says, I am your provider, because Jehovah is our provider, Jehovah Nisi. But Joseph was standing in the gap like a Messiah. He became the provider of an entire nation, which we now know is Israel. See? So if you're wondering what I was going through, it was bad.
That was the Cliff Notes.
It was bad.
That was, I think, thanks for the Cliff Notes. No, that's powerful stuff. It's hard to articulate when people are going through rough times. They want to fast forward. It's like, you want the remote, like in the movie Click, just where I can fast forward all this, but you're building character and you're building something so much truer. And I think that the journey is the process. The journey is part of that. And if you skip that, you miss it and you don't appreciate the fruits of the labor. You don't appreciate the blessings of the Lord. And I think that so many times we really try and run through that. So I know we only have a few minutes left in the podcast. How is it at HOMEROCK Realty working as a husband and wife team in that sense? Like, I can only imagine working with Brian, what that would be like. I can imagine you and your significant other, Travis, your husband, and, same with you, Kelly. There's only so many hours in a day we can spend with each other, but you guys are very this was a concern coming on as an agent. Like, what am I walking into this business when you've got a husband and wife team? What is this going to be like? Because there's always the relationship dynamic that gets brought into the business too. So if you're a small business owner, husband and wife, you're bringing in your personal stuff, that impacts the team, that impacts everything. So how do you handle that? How do you navigate those waters as an entrepreneur?
For me, as the wife and a mom and a person myself, right? I wear different hats. But I've today, after so many years, I've gone through various cycles. But for us, I've never, like at the office, Cory never shuts down. Let me just tell you, he's always business, right? Even at home, he's business. I have to be like, no.
That's why we message.
Right.
Hey, what about this?
So I need to have my coffee in the morning. I need to wake up. I need to have my devotional time. And then you can talk to me. I need that cup that says not yet. Like, don't talk to me. I need that because he just wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he can go then. And I'm like, no, But I think we balance pretty good because I see him first as my business partner. So I have that respect for him at the office. And I just had this conversation with Lacey this morning. I was like, I will yield, and a lot of people don't like that word. I will yield to whatever, there's a situation that if we disagree on, because I see him as the priest of our home, first of all, but he's also the broker, right? For a moment in time, I was a designated broker, right? But he gave me that respect as well. So it's business for us. It's not 50-50, it's 100 and 100. And so, and it changed when it was the kids, because now we're going to think about, whoa, we got to figure it out how we lead this to. So for me, and we don't see each other most of the day, really. He's got a different side of the business than I do. So I'm triple licensed. I have the insurance, the mortgage, and the real estate, right? So, I wake up and I was like, oh, what do I want to do today, right? So it's like, do I want to be a loan officer? No, I do it all every day. And so I think it's the respect that you cannot lose that. It doesn't matter how long you're together. You have to be respectful and mindful of the other person's feelings. Like Cory is is it the left side of the brain where you just facts, and I'm very emotional kind, right? So, so it's not, and I always tell him this, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that's very important to me, because if you start my morning in a certain way, that's going to set up the tone for my day. So be very careful. So he brings me coffee in the morning. So there you go.
Yeah, respect is earned, though. I think sometimes in business, the man comes in and expects to run things, but they can't run things if they're not leading appropriately. If you are expecting respect and not giving it and not earning it, not showing up when you say you're going to show up, not doing what you say you're going to do. And this is whether you're just the boss or the team lead on whatever perspective or respectively, you're going to end up hurting yourself and hurting your business and your reputation. And I think do what you say you're going to do, mean what you say you mean, and go from there. And I also think you're very direct and to the point. Like, I have not seen the real emotional side of you yet.
Not in business, but I think in the personal time, when it's business, I just said that to someone. I was on a trip recently, and I said, there's two things you cannot mess with, or I get very bullseyes. It's my kids and my money. And my money is my business. Yeah. Time is luxury for me. So don't waste my time. Right. And I am very direct, but it's because my face doesn't lie. I want to lie to you, but this eyebrow goes
It does.
So, but also in the business and real estate side, in the real estate, even in the mortgage too, I think there are certain women that gravitate more towards Cory's personality because he's so, but most of he doesn't really like to deal with anyone as far as the female type. But I think that it's more of that's my emotional side that I will think about, hey, well, we probably are thinking this. I will probably just lead a different way that the facts are blah, blah, blah. That's him. And be like, okay, well, that makes sense, but let's think about this, so it just balances up pretty good, I think.
You complement each other.
I think so.
Yeah. Now, she says I don't like dealing with the females. No. The certain type of female that I enjoy working with are like the military type females, right? The ones are like, show me what to do. Let's do it. Let's take that hill. But it's the ones that are like, oh, I can't do this. Don't give me an excuse. I'm the wrong guy, right? I'll try to.
Well, that's female or male with you.
Yeah. So
people in general, I've seen you though. Like I brought in an agent, because agent attraction is part of HOMEROCK. We have a great agent attraction. I know we won't have time to get into everything that HOMEROCK is doing, which if you guys are looking, insurance agent, brokerage, insurance brokerage, check us out. We're it. Yeah, there's hands down. But I brought in an agent and she was a Spanish speaker speaking English to us. And she still was so uncomfortable in her skin at our organization because English was her second language. And Milly's like, yeah, I just learned it. Like, you just do it. And she went through the whole training and she goes, yeah, let me know when you do your Spanish training. And I was like, okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. But if you can't even push through that fear or push through, it's really hard. And so I get it. And Milly, you still have it. And I know you got it, but it's just, you have to get over your own mental blocks a lot of times too.
You're paralyzed.
Yeah, being the firstborns, we don't have the luxury of maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. It's when you're the oldest, do it, right? Oh, why can't little brother do it? Why can't he watch it? You do it.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So did you guys have any final thoughts you guys want to talk about with HOMEROCK?
So again, me personally, it's all about opportunity. I'm hearing a lot from real estate agents that the company that they're with, they're not being properly trained. You can't expect someone to be perfect if they weren't trained to be perfect. And I talk to agents every day. I'm interviewing probably 15 a month. And my heart is going out to them because if you work for a broker, everything you do in the broker's name is a reflection of the broker. I just don't understand why somebody would bring someone into their organization and not train them, knowing that they're going to be a reflection of the broker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing people on these calls, these interviews saying, I just don't know if I can trust your words that you're saying. You say you have training, you say you have coaching, you say you have mentoring. I don't think I can trust another person. So if anybody's watching this video and they felt that they've been burnt out, they've been lied to, they've been misled, I would just say, open your heart and just give it one more chance, give it one more try. Because at the end of the day, sometimes opportunities that are given to you, you have to take the bad opportunity first. You'll never know how good you have it in a good opportunity unless you've gone through the bad opportunity, right? So look at it as it was a reason why you were let down so that you could see the promised land of a land flowing with milk and honey.
There you go.
Right. And that man, it wasn't cutting it, right?
I would say that the staff that we have in place have gone through the desert with us. And they grab that vision and they understand that our agents are a priority, right? We have the right people around us. And they want to empower each other. And so it's not about how I can get better. I need to make you better, because if I make you better, then I go up with you, right?
Yeah.
I just came back from a trip for 250 people, and that was the whole mindset. Let's get better together because, we're in real estate, we're in mortgages, we're in insurance. There's a lot out there, people out there, like before this trip, I heard Spirit Airlines, just one day, no jobs. You wake up, you go to work, and then middle of the shift, you're done. And so these are thousands of people without a job right now that we could help. We have the training, we have the staff in place. Well, I don't have anything in real estate. Neither did I. It took me 30 days to get my license and never look back because I thought this one was just making phone calls by the pool and just getting checks. I'm like, how is it that you're doing it? Mind you, while we are dating, he's like, do you want to go to the movies? Yeah, let's go. Oh, let me just stop by the office. And then stop by the office meant he had a buyer's appointment. And I'm seeing grown folks, like we're in our 30s and 20s. And these are 50, 60-year-old people crying because this is the first time they are able to buy a home and they're getting down payment assistance and they're getting all this help. That's still happening today. This is over 20 years ago and it's still happening today. So if anybody out there is in need of an opportunity in any industry, real estate, mortgage, or insurance, we are it. HOMEROCK is one brand, one family for all of the businesses.
I'll put a link in the comments or in the section for YouTube so you can go and click the referral link and let them know that you came from us, Sugar, Spice, and Spirits. I will say that it's been one of the best things for me to switch over. And one of the things ChatGPT said is it goes through all this stuff: Cory, agent recruiting, business model, rev share, training, automation, bold trail, scaling, reputation, solid presence overall, strategically a broker, business power, recruiter, operator. He's fast moving, tech driven, recruiting focused, adaptable. And then I asked about your faith because faith is up there. And they say,
How many pages is that?
it's 4, but we're not. So publicly, he appears to identify strongly as a Christian and faith-based values. I didn't find anything controversial or hidden. More faith seems integrated into his business branding and personal message. And then it goes on. And just to be candid in business, the real test of someone's faith isn't the Bible verse on the website. And this is where discernment comes in. It's how they treat people under pressure, how they handle conflict, whether they honor agreements, and what happens when money gets tight or deals get messy. That's where character shows up. It's not just the branding and copy. And I can tell you, like, we had a situation with a new home buyer class that you were giving, and I went, and it wasn't my event, it was Cory and Milly's event. And this guy came in and I was talking to him outside, and it was a random situation, and he was from another country and spoke Spanish, but we were talking and we're jiving, getting along, and he asked me to go write him some contracts, and then he asked Milly to write some contracts, and then he asked another agent to write some contracts, and then he like disappeared, and I'm like, what are we doing? Because I thought we were going to do this. And it was just chaos. Cory's teaching and doing his thing. Milly's trying to talk to him because she's getting pulled in from other people. It was a very chaotic situation.
Yes.
And afterwards, I was like, well, this will be a test if I still like the brokerage or not, how everything gets handled, because he was a Spanish speaker. He would be better with Milly in that situation. And it was Milly's event and Milly's lead. So like, whatever. But the whole thing washed out when it all came out. It was, hey, whatever works. If he responds to you, great. If he responds to me, fantastic. I just don't. Milly's like, I don't have time to waste on this. Like, if he's going to call me back and honor the appointment that we set, then okay. If he's not, then I'm not chasing him. And we both were kind of like, okay. But it was just the way everything washed out. I had a story. She had a story. And Cory had the other story from before we got there. And in that moment was nothing but integrity in a situation where his money is based. And I can tell you, greed overtakes a lot of people. And we see it in real estate so many times. When dollars start flowing, dollar signs start going off in the eyes, and it's like a cartoon. And that's when people lose their religion. They lose their faith and their grounding and their center thing. And everything that I've seen.
Because he was a cash buyer and he kept saying, I have 2 million or whatever. And I was like, well, that's only 4 houses.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I kept in my mind, my client is Natalie. She is my family, HOMEROCK family. So I'm like, I'm telling the buyer, I'm the broker. You want to use her, but I can be in there to translate if need be. But he just disappeared.
He couldn't handle the pressure. So I don't know what kind of entrepreneur he was. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So with that being said, I've seen the other side and what could be a difficult situation. I've seen the generosity in HOMEROCK with the leads and with referrals and things like that. And they really do treat their agents as not employees, but kind of as a partner, as they respect our business and they help support our business within that. So I just want to say thank you guys for having such a good company, a good organization, and coming and being a part of the podcast. I know you've supported our podcast when we had the Aspire competition, and we appreciate that. So, with that being said, cheers to you guys, and cheers to Lynn's Table in Old Town Spring for having us, hosting us, and for the Bellinis and Raspberry Rose Float and the Strawberry Rose Float and the coffees. Their menu, like, I did not realize everything that they have going on here at Lynn's Table, but Chef Matthew has thrown down some really, really good
fresh.
And an
army veteran.
Yes, and those of you know me know that I'm in a motorcycle riding club, and when we meet up here, this is where we come for breakfast.
She's in a biker gang.
I'm a biker chick.
I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to come into your circle. I met you ladies at the Aspire event, and I thought, man, they're the coolest. Like, they have like this, podcast, which is a big thing in my mind. And so I just want to thank you for this opportunity and for allowing us to share our story. It was not a lot about business, but more in the personal side that we haven't talked in a while. So I just thank you for that opportunity. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Cheers to you guys.
You guys. Cheers.
And cheers to you.
Sugar, Spice, and Spirits is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are solely those of the host and guests and do not represent those of any affiliated organizations. The content provided is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, whether legal, financial, medical, or otherwise. Always seek the advice of qualified professionals regarding any questions that you may have. While we aim to keep information accurate and up to date, we make no guarantees of completeness, reliability, or accuracy. Any action you take based on the information presented is strictly at your own risk. Cheers to mixing a little fun and some friendly advice. But remember, sip responsibly and always do your own homework.